everybody. Welcome to my studio. Hi, Amy. We're so glad you're here.
I'm glad to be here.
So, Amy's here today to paint with me, and I'm here to tell you a little bit about some online workshops. So, you can join us at jenniferseibertstudios.com, and you can find information at Jennifer Seibert Studios on Instagram. But I want to show you the workbook a little bit because we're going to talk about some of these principles in the little painting that we're going to make today. Does that sound fun?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Do you want me to hold them for you as you show them?
Oh yeah, that sounds good. So if you get the workbook, it comes with table of contents, materials list, and so forth. But we are going to start talking a little bit about value. We'll talk a little bit about mark making. There we go. We will take value in mark making and figure out how to create forms and space with it. We'll talk about color. We'll talk about high chroma color, and we'll talk about low chroma color so that you can make really pretty colors that look like the world. That one too. We'll practice mark making when you've got a more complicated palette, and then learn how to put those into painting that investigate form as well. So hopefully you can learn a little bit about it here today with Amy. I'm so excited to paint. And then join me in the workshops. They'll be great stocking stuffers, and I can get them to you in the mail before the holiday, and the link so you can join us. Okay, are you ready to paint?
I am so ready.
Yes. Okay, here we go. Oh, I'm gonna come around this way.
Okay. Am I red or am I green?
Well, I was gonna ask, which one do you want to do?
I want to be red.
Okay, red it is. We might have to switch palettes. I can't remember.
Oh, I'll be green then. Here, I'll be green.
Let's see. No, let's just switch palettes.
Okay.
We're good. So these are some of the things that you'll learn in the workshop. Is little tricks like this: getting a Masterson Stay Wet palette, using the Stay Wet paper, which I can explain in some of the videos later, and there'll be all kinds of fun tips and tricks. So I'll take your lid, Amy.
Okay.
A good painting requires a lot of mixing. And so what happens with this is that then you can do all the mixing and you can save it for a couple paintings and not have to throw it away. And I can keep these acrylics wet for up to a month or more. So there's a little trick. Okay, so I'll hold up your red one. No, you're doing green. Just kidding.
Okay.
So the principles in the book talk about value, highlight, light, shadow, reflected light, core shadow, mark making. And the idea is that if you can understand those really simple things, then you can turn them into something cute like a Christmas ornament or something more elaborate like a person. So that's kind of what we'll focus on today. So, all right, you ready?
I am very ready.
We are going to do a very complicated drawing. Are you ready?
Yes.
You're going to take a pencil, you're going to take that roll of tape that you have there,
Mm-hmm.
and you're going to put it on your paper, and you're going to circle the taper, and that's it.
Okay.
It's like a cooking show. So fun. That is the whole drawing.
Right.
Very easy. Okay, so we are going to use today flat synthetic brushes, and they're pretty large. They're like 1 inch in size. We have a couple here, but we most likely will only use the one big flat and then maybe one smaller synthetic flat. So that's something that we talk about a lot, is like, how can you use your supplies without getting overwhelmed? Okay, so what I want us to start with the flat brush is get it wet a little bit in your water and then dry it off. This helps the paint flow through the bristles really nicely if you kind of charge it first. So we're going to take a big chunk of titanium white, and I want you to paint the whole background behind the circle.
Okay.
A good trick when you're by the tape is to paint away from the tape edges so it doesn't bleed under the tape. And everybody knows from satisfying videos that the most awesome thing is peeling the tape at an end of a painting.
I love that on your videos.
They're pretty fun.
Those are my favorite thing.
I have been loving your videos so much.
Thank
So
you.
fun.
Thank you very much.
We're gonna have to get together and paint watercolors one day so you can teach me all the tricks.
I would love to do that.
Yes.
Okay, so I have a question.
Yes.
I've got like a little ridge of paint there on the edge. Do I need to smooth it down or can I leave it alone?
I would leave it alone.
Okay.
We will recut the edges once we have the positive shape painted in. These paintings that we're making are called alla prima, which means all at once, and they're usually really impressionistic and kind of playful. And so the more painterly they are, the better. Okay, so once you have the background painted, I'm going to talk through this while you finish.
I'm slower than you.
I'm using a lot of paint. I'm going to take the very corner of my brush and I'm going to dip it in my Payne's Gray paint. So what I have is titanium white, grass green, cadmium red, and Payne's Gray, which we'll use for the dark. We're going to make a monochromatic painting, more or less, but I'm going to teach you a little bit about desaturating with the opposite color on the color wheel. And that's the kind of stuff we can talk about in the big workshops, is color theory, chromatic grays, like all these really cool things. But Payne's Gray is my favorite. So we are going to take, again, just the very corner of the brush, and you're going to, I talk about paint like this. Hershey Kiss size, chocolate chip size, donut sprinkle, and a grain of salt. So we're going to start with a grain of salt on the corner in the Payne's Gray.
And I'm not rinsing off my brush,
No.
right? Okay.
Yeah, good question.
Let me see your, ooh, see, I did way more. Okay.
Tiny.
How's
And
that?
perfect.
Okay.
Okay, and we're going to cut it into the white so it looks like a snowstorm. So I'm using a cross-hatching mark where I'm trying to make it look really painterly. I'm going to take a little bit more, do the same on the bottom. So it becomes a kind of pretty gray. And it can be really wispy and painterly. Ooh, yeah, that's pretty. If your acrylic paint gets too sticky, you can dip it in the tiniest bit of water, like so, and tap it off, and then that helps the paint kind of flow more. A lot of learning how to paint is controlling those materials and just practice, and that's how you start to kind of learn how they work. So now I've got a little snowstorm. That's really beautiful.
I'm having fun.
Nice.
This is so much more paint than we use in watercolor.
A lot more. We are using today actually some pretty inexpensive paint from Hobby Lobby called Master's Touch. And the reason we're going to start with that is that I had a painting professor once tell me to use rather inexpensive materials at the beginning so that you could decide if you loved it or not. And often the thing that goes wrong with painting, acrylic painting in particular, is you don't use enough paint. But when it's not very expensive, you're not afraid to really use it, and that you can save it in your palette box is really helpful.
You can go all in.
Yes, exactly. Okay, it's not good to leave your brushes in the water, but put your brush in the water and just leave it for now. Okay. So we're going to take our little palette knife.
Okay.
And we are going to mix up a value scale. So in the middle of my palette, the trick is to always keep your pots of paint on the outside and then to do your mixing in the middle and to think of them as value scales. So I'm going to grab 2 chocolate chips worth of white and put it in the middle. A little more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Perfect.
Okay.
And then I'm going to wipe my brush off on my towel. And that's a really good thing to practice so that you don't start to contaminate your paints on the outside. I'm going to try to take about the same amount of red, and you're going to do the same with green.
Okay.
So 50-50. It's like cooking. And then when we mix it, we're going to squish it together. I sometimes see when people start painting that they try to stir it with the knife, but it's like you're trying to crush those pigments together.
So I don't think I have as much paint as you. Should I add more green or more white? What do I need more of?
A little bit of both. Wipe your palette knife off on your towel.
I almost didn't. It would
Ah.
be a disaster.
It's okay if it gets contaminated, but you're happier if you keep it clean.
Not disaster.
All right.
Okay.
Very nice, very nice. Okay, I'm gonna wipe off. No, I don't need. Yes, no, I'm gonna wipe off my brush.
Okay.
Wipe off our palette knife. And I'm gonna cut like a chocolate chip's worth off and move it here.
Okay.
And then a little less than a chocolate chip's worth closer to the dark color. And then I'm gonna grab 2 chocolate chips worth of white, and I'm gonna make a 30 value. So now I have white at 0, this one at 30, the middle one where I did 50-50 ratio became my 50, and then I'm gonna grab more red and make a 70. You know, we've probably all made value scales in the past where we did 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, etc. But I feel like if you just make 30, 50, 70, 100, you can mix and blend the other ones in between. I'm going to grab a little of my 50 and move it into my 70 because I think it's a little too dark.
I'm being chintzy with my paint, just like you told me not to be.
Ah.
I'm gonna unchintzy it.
Yeah, build it up. There you go. There's always more. This is the key, is always mixing in value, having these ranges, and then that allows you to do things like highlight, light, shadow, reflected light, core shadow to make things feel volumetric. If you're painting something non-objective, that doesn't necessarily have to have a sense of accurate space, it still really works cool because it pushes your viewer in and out of the picture plane in a really neat way, and your paintings become more complex. Those are looking good.
I'm happy.
Yeah, I love it.
Me too.
Okay, so I'm going to show you the coolest thing. I just got my reviews back. I teach at Collin College, and I got some reviews back that said, I never knew about complementary colors and how cool they were. So this is the moment. Red and green on the opposite of the color wheel cancel each other out. It's like the best trick ever. So what we're going to do is we're going to really wash off our brush, our knife, excuse me, and clean it off really good this time because we're going to go into our complement. I don't want to contaminate that. I'll move my cup of water. So I'm going to take my, what am I making? I'm making the red one. I'm going to take my red, you're going to take your green,
Okay.
and I'm going to take a chocolate chips worth.
Okay.
And I'm going to move it over to the side towards the red. So I go to the green and you go to the red.
Okay. Yes.
Perfect. Yeah,
Okay.
perfect.
All right.
Okay, wipe your knife off. And then I'm going to do the same with the other 3 values. I'm going to grab a chunk of it, move it over, grab a chunk of this, move it over, chunk of this, move it over, and a little white. Like so.
Okay.
Looks good, looks good.
Yep.
So this is the moment.
Okay.
You cannot put the toothpaste back in the tube. Is that the same, I think?
Yep.
So you have to just very slowly. We are going to try and cancel out these colors. So I'm going to grab like the tiniest grain of salt.
Okay.
Well, actually for this one, maybe don't sprinkle like that much.
Okay.
And I'm going to mix it into my solid red. You're going to mix it into your solid green.
Okay.
Colors have warm and cool tendencies, and our green is leaning towards blue instead of yellow. So the more we put of it, the more this is gonna turn kind of violet for me. I'm gonna do one more donut sprinkle.
Okay.
And the rate at which the paint is affected is called the tinting strength. Oh yeah, that's pretty. So you can see that I've gone from a high chroma red to a really pretty kind of maroon, and Amy has gone from a really kind of bright green to a really beautiful dark green, and she didn't use any black. And that creates that lower chroma, kind of richer quality. So now I'm gonna jump down each one like in that same way. The lighter I get, the less green I'm gonna need. So I'm gonna just add a little bit to each one. Again, you can see high chroma, low chroma. You know, we think about mixing opposites, and often we think, oh, we'll make mud. But if you can control it, it looks more like the leaves on the trees, the colors of the grass, skin tones. It looks more like the lower chroma world that we live in, which is cool. A little more green to my 50.
Did I add too much green?
No, it's actually
Or
really
too
pretty.
much red? It's good?
If it gets out of the range that you want, you can grab more of that 50 and bring it over.
Okay.
You might want to. Yeah, it's really nice though.
Thank you.
Tiny bits at a time.
Okay.
You can always add more.
I
Can't
think
take
I
it
went
up.
kind of gung-ho with the red. A little crazy.
I love it. Those colors are going to look really pretty on your ball though. While Amy mixes, you can see that this dark down here is filled with red, and that's what gives it that kind of richer, more complex space. And I'm going to mix just a little bit into this one, so I've got one more kind of complicated.
That's like the super light one, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you can see how blue our green is because it turns it kind of a little bit more on the violet side. I'll talk about that a lot in the workshops. I'm gonna add a little more green just to zhuzh it up a bit. What this is called, and you can really see it, I don't know if you can see it from afar, but it's called a chromatic gray. So it's like this color, but it starts to gray out, which is cool. Oh yeah, that's beautiful. That's a perfect
like that?
chromatic gray.
You
Yeah,
like that? Okay.
yeah, and then grab a hunk of white
Mhm.
and then mix a real light one at the end.
When you say mix a light one, I'm pulling from this and the white.
You know what you could do is take that and just kind of make it so that you have less on your knife.
Yep. Mhm.
Now grab a hunk of that.
Whoop. Oh, I've ruined everything. No, it's fine.
Now just mix what's on your knife.
Okay.
That'll be plenty.
Got it.
Here, watch with me, ready?
Yep.
So when you're mixing, you
Uh-huh.
scoop it, squish, scoop it, squish, scoop it, squish, scoop it, squish.
Thank you.
Does
It's
that
like
feel
you're
good?
kneading bread.
Yeah.
Okay. I wasn't squishing. That was my problem.
Yeah, you gotta squish it. Push it back and forth.
Okay. I'm happy.
So my painting students will mix paint for like an hour or more and then paint. But the painting goes so fast when you take all the time to build your space up. Okay, so with the idea of creating a Christmas ball that feels like it's got a light source, we're gonna do a highlight, a middle, a dark, a super dark. So this is kind of basic. Imagine if it was sitting on a plane, it would have a cast shadow and so forth. But this is really the principle that gets you so that you can build anything. And then we'll turn that ball into an ornament with a little detail.
I'm gonna kind of look at my. Here, I'll turn this way so people can still see.
Look at your resource.
So I've got my dark middle light. Okay.
Okay,
Got
here you
it.
go. So I'm going to switch brushes to the other flat one that's just a little bit smaller, and mostly because I just want a clean one. Often when I really have a full palette going, I'll have a red brush, a green brush, a yellow brush, a blue brush. I'll have like 12 brushes going all at once, and then you have less of a chance of making mud, which is really great. Okay, so again, let's charge your brush just a little bit, and then dry it on your towel. And I'm going to start with my highlight, and I'm just going to do straight white like just a little cutting in where the highlight's gonna go.
And how much white did you put on this time?
Not too much. Let's pull a little off. Yeah, just push that around.
Like a sprinkle?
Yeah, perfect.
Great.
Yeah, like 3 donut sprinkles worth. That seems about right. Then I'm gonna shift and grab my 30, and I have, a mini chocolate chips worth.
When you, okay,
Okay.
your 30 is which one? Point to me again.
This one.
The middle one.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
And I'm gonna cut it around the light, and I'm gonna kind of cross hatch it so it's like kind of shimmery. So kind of cut it into the white some. Yeah, that looks good. And we'll blend it in a minute.
Yep.
A way to save your paint as you're working, that looks perfect, is with your palette knife. I still have quite a bit of white and a light pink on here. So I find on my palette the closest one, and I'm gonna scoop it off like so that I'm not wasting that color.
Okay.
Yeah, so like maybe this one.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, perfect. Perfect. I'm gonna shift to my next darkest one, so you'll go to that one.
Okay.
I didn't wash my brush because I'm kind of all in the same family now.
Okay.
And I'm gonna cut around that next layer.
And you're going in a circular motion.
Kind of, and then like a cross hatch. Kind of helps it blend. Look at your pretty surface. When the paint's real chunky, it's called impasto. I don't know if you can see it yet, but Amy's is real chunky and it's really pretty.
Should I leave it?
Maybe.
Or should I blend it?
Do you like it?
Don't be nice.
I
Or
leave
be
it.
Okay, I'm gonna leave it.
I like
Leave
it.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna jump to my 70.
Okay.
You know, it's funny, we didn't do it, but often I will label my palette where I write the numbers, and that's helpful. Sometimes I draw a grid where I say this is the warm side, this is the cool side. That can help, warm being the red and the green being the cool. Okay, so I'm gonna jump to this one,
This
our
one.
70.
Okay.
Cut that. I'm gonna take this one up a little bit higher. Like so. If your paint, yours looks good because she's got quite a bit on her brush and it's really beautiful. And she can just use the paint to move it, but mine's getting a little sticky, so I'm gonna take a tiny bit of water, dry it off, and then use that to kind of cut. Okay,
That's nice.
then
So
we're-
you cut it around the top.
yeah, just a little bit around the top now. And I'm gonna now grab my dark, the one that we neutralized with the red, or I neutralized with my green. And I'm gonna very carefully, this is my favorite part, when you're cutting a circle or a straight line, and we'll talk about these in the workshops, the flat brushes are way nicer. Like you wouldn't think to make a straight line that you should use such a big brush. But if you can control the paint on the side, so what happens is it's like you start in away from the line, and then you can see what your hand's going to do as you pull the paint, and then you can control it around that edge.
That's
And those
lovely.
areas where you had a little bit of white,
Mhm.
if that bleeds into it, that's kind of a good thing. That's called an open and closed edge, and it makes it look like it's got air and space and life and not a sticker or construction paper cutout. So that can be a good thing.
Okay, so I'm using this one right here,
Yep.
super dark. How much am I putting on?
Let me see.
I haven't done anything yet. Yeah?
Perfect.
Okay.
Yes. And then you kind of start away from the line
Okay.
so that you can feel it. Well, let's do it on this side first, on the left. So darkest dark.
Okay.
And then you're gonna drag it around. And then once you have that edge, you can cut it in. It's fun, right?
It is fun.
Very different than watercolor, right?
Yes, but I was just thinking, I was noticing the other day that I always put my highlights on the same side.
Oh,
I think it's because I'm left-handed.
Oh, maybe.
Because my dark spot's always over here.
Oh, how funny.
Isn't that funny?
Well, that's totally interesting because I'm right-handed. Yours looks great. I would actually just leave it.
Okay.
Look how mine's a little too choppy.
Okay.
Yours it's got a nice like highlight middle, next middle, and then dark, and the mark making is really beautiful. Mine's too abrupt. So I'm gonna go in with a little bit of the light and cut back to make a softer shift. Do you see that?
Mm-hmm.
And then with the paint that's on your brush, we're gonna then continue up around the corner.
Okay.
I'm gonna add a little water to mine again. Tap it on my towel.
This is so much fun.
I'm so glad you got to come paint with me today.
It's so peaceful.
I love it. Painting is all about painting it and then painting it again. So here I kind of went over some of my light. So I'm gonna go back in and cut in a little light. I'm gonna use some of my desaturated color. Oh, that's beautiful. Maybe you could do like one little brush stroke of one of your desaturated ones. Maybe that pinker one,
Okay.
like right there, just a little zhuzh of it would be good.
Zhuzh. Okay.
Yeah, it'll be
Now
like a little reflective light.
Okay, should I leave it or do I need to blend it?
I like the impasto. That's what's so
Okay.
fun is there's really not a right or a wrong way to do it. So we're gonna move up into here,
Okay.
and that's where we can use your dark desaturated.
Okay.
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
I'm not being kind to my palette. You are very kind to your palette.
Haha. It's practicing. My watercolor palettes get real messy real quick, that's for sure. I always kind of forget to breathe.
I do that too. I notice I hold my breath. When
I've never liked ceramics for that reason. Okay, so again, Amy's looks so like chunky and beautiful, and actually we both have the same issue. So you've got like a big hunk, and I have a big hunk. So we're gonna look at our value scale and find something in between it, and then break that up. And I have way too much paint on my knife, on my brush right now. So I'm again find the color that's closest, and I'm gonna squish it off onto the palette. And I don't need to ever really clean my brush at this point because I'm all in the same family, but I just got too juicy, like it was too much. So I'm gonna take a little bit of this higher chroma 70, and you could maybe do that one.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the one you're thinking?
It was.
Nice.
And if it wasn't, I would say it was.
Oh yeah, that's perfect.
Okay. Now, do I want to keep going up high?
Yeah, so now we need to think about our light source, and we need to think about like which out of the values would make the most sense. And I think I might mix my 50 and my 70 together a little bit. And I'm gonna cut around the back side. So it's still kind of highlighty, but not too much. That actually looks perfect.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, here we go.
Okay, so you're taking the flat part and coming around.
Just mostly so I can see it. So tape is awesome, and I taped Amy and myself down to the table. If you can put them on a board that you can turn, that's a lot more friendly. Do you move your watercolors in circles when you paint them?
I do, and actually, the Target in the dollar section had these fantastic wooden trays around Halloween, and I bought several so I could have them in every room.
Nice.
For wherever I was going to paint. Okay, I'm going all the way around, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, to where I didn't have paint.
Yeah, and then we can fix it by kind of layering in different colors over it, or different values. So like I have a big chunky, and I need to go into my whites.
All of this hunky, chunky, and like talking about chocolate chips, I'm going to need some cookies. So.
We have to do that after.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like you layer and layer.
I'm not breathing.
Right. Oh. Yes.
Okay, so now
Okay.
I've got such a white spot.
Right, and mine's like a little too pink and too flat. So what you're gonna do is that white is probably still pretty wet. You're gonna try and scrape off most of that paint with your knife back onto your palette. Again, look for where it belongs. So like mine, I'm gonna maybe put here. See how much paint you save? I mean, that's like 2 chocolate chips worth that came out of my brush. So it's nice that you can save it, and then it prevents you from having to change out your water source a lot.
I just thought up a fantastic business for us.
What's that?
You're gonna give these kinds of instructions in a painting class, and next door we'll have a bakery, but it's all the same shop. We'll make everybody think about cookies.
Yes, I love it. I love it.
Okay, so I'm sorry, I got distracted.
Cookies are distracting.
So I scraped my paint off.
So with it kind of, with that green in there, grab a little white on the side and try to cut those together. And I'm going to add a little highlight because mine got a little too dark. And if it gets too sticky, you can again just dab your brush off a little and get it wet. Let's see. Oh, it's beautiful.
I'm kind of making it
like a starburst.
Yeah, I think maybe I'm going to tone it down a little bit.
Oh, it's beautiful. Yeah, you could go all the way into the center of it.
Okay.
And then we can layer a big chunk of white back on top of it. Or we can make like a light pink and that'll kind of like do something floaty.
Okay. Ooh, look at that. I got too much green there.
Well, I like that though.
Thanks. You like all my
I do. My ball's a little squished, so I'm going to reshape a little.
Okay, so if I want to smooth some of this out, that's cool, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Totes. I think I'm good. So we didn't use every one of the colors that we mixed, but we have that option. And the more complicated our paintings become, the more fun it is to have all of that space. And again, because we have this Stay Wet palette, we can recycle this paint and use it again. You can also save your acrylic paint in little plastic bead jars. And if you have a freezer that's big enough to put it in, if you freeze your paint, it stays wet a lot longer. That's a trick that oil painters use. And you'll have to let us know on my Instagram or let Amy know on her City of Plano website if you want to have oil workshops, because I would love to teach you how to paint
I can
oil.
already tell you people have said yes.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. That is gorgeous. So, okay, step back.
Okay.
What do you see that needs to be fixed? Do mine first.
No, it's lovely and pretty.
Ah.
Okay, so if I compare this one to that one,
Uh-huh.
it's dark. You've got more dark kind of all the way around, although it's definitely darker there. So maybe like a band.
Highlight.
Yeah, like a thank you, highlight.
A little
That's
highlight.
the word I was looking for. And I think I probably need the same. What do you think?
I do. I do. And then maybe slow down that just a tiny bit.
Tell me what you mean.
I don't know. Like
Does
that
it-
you could just...
Oh, this little pink guy? Yes,
Yeah.
he's a little distracting, right?
Yeah, like kind of just squish them out on a contour.
Okay.
I like that.
Listen, dude, it's not about you. It's not
Ooh,
about
yeah, done.
you.
Got no one to stop. Okay, I'm going to take my brush. I'm going to, again, squeeze out the paint where I think it belongs. And this time, I'm going to rinse it in the water really good. I'm going to grab some almost white. And I'm going to put a little bit more highlight. Just squish this on the bottom of my water.
So the almost white is which one?
We'll make one.
Okay.
Well, mostly that my brush isn't super, super clean. Like it still has some pigment in it.
Yep.
I'm going to go in maybe like where I contaminated it a bit.
Uh-huh.
So it's like pretty white, but there's like a little bit of complexity in there.
Yep.
And I'm going to do a little highlight. I like this highlight a lot. Look how chunky that is.
I like that.
So it's like you have to practice floating the paint on top of the surface where you don't like overwork it. And Amy totally has that down, which is really beautiful.
You made a
Oh,
bold
look
choice.
at that. I'm going to fix that.
That's okay.
I got water on it, people. Watch this.
And now it's gone.
Huh.
Look at that.
Done. Okay, ready?
Save the day.
Wait, I don't want that dripping on me. Okay. I'm going to not hold my breath.
I'm going to watch you.
There we go. So I'm trying to act like I had too much coffee and like have it be kind of like shaky where it goes up and down and up and down. So it sits kind of broken on the surface. And I went too far. So I'm going to grab a different kind of middle value and cover some of it back up.
You hear the birdies?
Do.
dark coming up, or did I do enough?
No, that looks good.
Okay.
That looks great. So both of us, woohoo, our spheres look pretty round, but this would be the point where if you felt like you kind of like made a egg instead of a sphere, you would go in and you could recut the background and reshape it. But I think we're looking pretty good.
I was jealous of your white spots, so I added extra.
Yeah, I like it.
Thanks.
They're gonna show up if a little extra green shows behind it, so you have that contrast that's happening.
Okay.
But I think we're in good shape with the ball. Okay, so I'm gonna put this in here.
Are you trying to tell me to stop touching it?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
so. All of Prima, all at once. So I'm gonna take my small synthetic flat and yeah, that one.
This one.
Oh, you have an angled. She has
That's
an
okay.
angled, but that's actually better. Okay, so then I'm gonna take, we need to make a choice. Like this one has a kind of greenish top. This one has a kind of reddish top. Yeah, we'll just stay the course. We'll use one of our darks. But the idea here again is that you add teeny tiny little detail to something kind of simple, and then you turn it with the detail 5 or 6 little marks, and then it becomes a Christmas ornament or you know, whatever the next thing is.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm gonna take my deep red. You take your deep green.
Yep.
Oh, I forgot to put my brush in water, but
Me
that's
too.
okay.
Okay.
I
Won't
think
matter.
it's okay. No, yeah. And then I'm gonna just cut. I'm kind of holding my arm, and I'm gonna cut a little curved rectangle across the top. And it can be kind of painterly. You are left-handed. My son's left-handed. You could do it the other way.
Can I?
Do we need to move your stuff?
No, I'm fine. I'm gonna make this work.
She needs to breathe, people.
Why am I holding it with 2 hands? That's ridiculous. Okay.
Perfect.
Yay.
Okay, so then I'm gonna squish this back off here, and I'm gonna shift to like my middle. Let's maybe you do, maybe, yeah, somewhere in there. Maybe mix those two together. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna go to like here, just to have a little value shift.
Yep.
And then I'm gonna cut a smaller rectangle on top.
Okay.
I talk about that in my drawing classes, how everything is really built out of super simple shapes. That's pretty, yeah. And then I'm gonna grab a little bit of light, maybe my desaturated pink. You could use your desaturated green.
Okay.
Maybe
This one?
maybe the light one. I'm gonna do a tiny highlight.
I like where the little ridges are.
Uh-huh. Like so.
Love it.
Yeah. Perfect.
Mine will have the addition of my hair.
Nice. Oh, that looks great.
Oh, wait, I gotta do one on the top too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay. Now I'm gonna take the small brush. I'm gonna kind of clean it off just a little, and I'm gonna start with one of my darker. I'm gonna use my darkest red. Maybe you can use your dark green, and I'm gonna do little dots like so. And I want them to kind of curve just a little bit so that it looks playful.
You know, one of the hardest things about painting for me is to keep my hand off the paper.
Yes. Yeah, it's a trick. Some artists use what they call a maul stick, so it's like a stick with a ball on the end and it keeps their hand up off of it. Or a drawing, we can put a piece of paper under it. Can't really do it here, but okay. Then I'm gonna take white.
Okay.
And my brush is a little dirty, so that's good because it kind of became a 5% value. And I'm gonna just offset a little white on top of the dark.
Okay.
So they look like little shimmery beads, and then they're using that highlight, light, shadow, reflective, like foreshadow, but real tiny.
I'm gonna go back in on mine.
I'm gonna put more dark on one of mine. I overdid it.
I was trying to be delicate. I need to remember
Not watercolor.
when I'm doing not watercolor, go all in.
Yes. What does they say? Go big or go home.
Go big or go home.
Okay. Ooh!
I love
Oh,
that.
it's so cute.
It's so cute. I love it.
It's So while Amy finishes her beads, the only other thing that we could add to it if we wanted is that we had the Payne's gray in the example, and then now we have these little green wispy flyaways to kind of make it feel like atmosphere. This one has this too, but it's kind of risky business because the background's pretty dry. Do you want to try it?
Look, I'm all in.
Okay, so I'm gonna take my big brush, dry it off. I'm gonna do pink. You're gonna do green?
Yep.
Yeah? So I'm gonna take, I gotta find a value that feels kind of like this.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go almost to my white.
Okay.
With like a tiny bit. So if we made a 30, I'm getting like a 4 value. So maybe like from here.
Yep. Is it okay to mess up my white?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I mean, by the end, your palette's gonna be like really kind of contained and built up. Look how pretty Amy's is. You wanna hold it up for him? There's no right or wrong way. And you can see she still has all these really nice value shifts that are happening. Hers just a little more wiggly. Okay, so then I'm gonna just do one that's kind of in a boring spot that isn't gonna screw everything up.
Okay.
And I'm gonna just swish it off the edge of the page.
How much paint do you have on your brush?
Not enough.
Not very much.
Not enough. Yeah, not very much.
Okay.
Yeah, I probably wanted more though. Like so. Yeah, see if it's light, then it doesn't really, ooh yeah. And then I'm gonna do like 7 of them.
So you also like odd numbers?
Mm-hmm.
I do,
Yeah. We can talk about composition too in other ones. And look at here where I went from a light one to a dark one.
Mm-hmm.
And you make that contrast and it makes it feel like these little flyaways are floating up towards you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6, 7. Yeah. And add a little more layer. Yeah, I'm gonna do like a white kind of on top of them.
Okay.
But offset like so.
But not a solid white, just like a super light.
Yeah. Yeah, and then it just kind of feels like it's floating.
Oh, I see.
But it's like that, having that color in the background that came from the positive shape. Oh, it's beautiful. Kind of makes it feel like it has a color harmony to it. If we hadn't used the desaturated color, this would be a straight monochromatic painting. They are almost monochromatic. Yes, they call it good.
Okay.
But by adding that little bit of the opposite, it's technically a complementary painting. But okay, should we peel the tape so we can show them?
Yes.
Here we go.
Where are we starting? Let's see.
Hopefully I left them so they were good, accessible. Oh, we are painting on, I don't remember. I want to say it's like 150-pound watercolor paper. And I can talk about that in the workshops too. Painting on watercolor paper, painting on canvas, painting on wood panel, cardboard, whatever, you name it. Because we're painting with acrylic, we did not prime this paper. This was raw watercolor paper. But I can talk about if we use oils, how you do have to prime the surface. And I can go through all of that as well.
This is so fun.
Oh my gosh, Amy, I'm so happy you got to come paint with me today.
Me too.
I'll tell the truth, I did a couple of these as tests before you came over,
Mm-hmm.
and they became my children's Christmas cards to their teachers.
Oh, that's
so they wrote on the
nice.
back, and yeah.
I thought you were going to talk about how you were saying hi to me like I was Mr. Snuffleupagus.
Oh.
So I just went in the room.
Here it is. Ta-da!
So pretty. I'm coming.
Woo!
That's okay. I'm just kidding.
Oh, I love it.
I do too.
Oh my goodness, it's gorgeous. Yes.
Yay.
Okay, everybody. Thanks for painting with us today. Again, if you want to join me in some online workshops, look up Jennifer Seibert Studios on Instagram or jenniferseibert.com, and you can download the workbook for one price, or I can mail you a copy on pretty cardstock and get it to you before Christmas, and then I'll send you a downloadable link so that you can watch the videos, and it's a perfect Christmas present. Okay, thanks everybody. Bye. Let's walk up close with them to
Okay.
go. turn off the... Ta-da! Fun.
Yay!
Amy, thank you for coming.
Thank you
I
for having me.
appreciate it.
Absolutely, anytime.
See you soon. Next time we see you, I'll be painting watercolor with Amy. Bye.